So what kind of flatbread are we doing tonight? And welcome back to Cliffieland. This is Week in Country number 164 in our second attempt of cooking the food of every single country in the world. And tonight we're up to the nation of Sudan. Sudan, the second largest nation in Africa, is located in north central Africa on the Red Sea and is bordered by Egypt, Libya, Central African Republic, Chad, South Sudan, Ethiopia, and Eritrea, and its cuisine is vast and varied. It has the influences of the various Arab traders as well as the indigenous African population. You're going to have dishes that really vary from region to region, so it's going to be really hard to kind of do something that just is in one night and in one dish. You'll find things like full madames, which are from Egypt. You'll find stews with a lot of different things, especially involving offal, which is something outside the scope and that we can't actually get here in the US. As I mentioned, there are a variety of stews that involve chicken or fish, a lot of locally grown vegetables, things like okra, similar to the dishes that we did for neighboring Chad and the Central African Republic. You'll also find a lot of dishes involving flatbreads, quite similar to the things that we did for Djibouti, Ethiopia, Eritrea, and Somalia and South Sudan last time. One key difference from the most popular flatbread in Sudan, though, is the use of the grain. In this case, it's going to be a wheat grain, and you're going to see that in the dish that we're doing tonight. But before we go into details, we need to look at what we did last time around. Now, last time around, I did get to cook and stream across 2 nights, and I was able to make a stew called Dama Potaatas, which is basically a beef and potato stew with some really great spices, and I served that on top of sort of the national flatbread, which is Goraasa, which is again, sort of like pancake-like those other flatbreads, but in this case it's made with wheat flour. Now, we chose to make with whole wheat flour, and it was really delicious, so we're looking forward to doing both of those tonight. Now, on the second night, I did a different stew on top of the same flatbread, which I did get right the second night, which I didn't quite get right the first night. And that one was made with jute leaves. Jute is a green that you can find there, but you really can't find here. I found it frozen here, and I tried to make it, but if you look at the blog, you'll see that I made a tremendous mess. It was kind of like Kermit the Frog exploded across the entire kitchen. It was quite a laugh riot. But eventually I did get it on the plate. It was sort of like a sauce on top of flatbread, and actually it tasted really good. But that's not what we're doing tonight. What we're doing is what we did on the first night, which is that Dama Potaatas, and we're serving that on top of the Goraasa. So now we need to see what go into tonight's 2 dishes. First, for our Dama Potaatas, we'll need 4 tablespoons of canola oil separated into 2 tablespoon portions, 6 onions chopped, 4 tablespoons of tomato paste, 3 cloves of minced garlic, 1 pound of beef steak cut into 1-inch cubes, 3 cups of water or beef stock if you prefer, plus about 2 tablespoons of water extra, 3 tomatoes chopped, half of a green bell pepper chopped, 1 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of freshly ground cardamom powder, 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and 2 potatoes peeled and diced. And then for our Goraasa, we'll need 1 pound of whole wheat flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 2 cups of water, and 1 teaspoon of salt. That's going to be really tasty. A word of warning though, I found the original Sudanese recipe and I tried to follow it as closely as I could, but maybe some things might have been lost in translation. For instance, it mentioned green peppers and I didn't know if they meant green spicy pepper like a serrano or like a green bell pepper, so apologies if I got that wrong. Also, in terms of the processing of the onions, that's kind of how I read that. Maybe I got it wrong, but it's going to be really great and we need to get cooking. First, heat the oil in a Dutch oven over medium heat, then add the onions, cover and let it cook, stirring occasionally for about 3 minutes. Then add the water or beef stock, cover and cook under medium heat for about 5 to 10 minutes until the water is almost evaporated. Transfer the onions to a food processor and lightly blend, and return it to the pot. Add the tomatoes, then in a separate pan heat the oil over medium heat. Add the potatoes, and fry the potatoes until golden. Then to the pot, add the green bell pepper, salt, cardamom, cinnamon, and the beef. Cover and let it cook for 3 minutes. Then add the tomato paste, stir, and add water or stock until the paste is smooth and runny if needed. Add the potatoes. Let simmer for 10 minutes, adding more water or beef stock if needed, and stir in the minced garlic. Sift the flour into a bowl, add the baking powder and salt, whisk together, and stir in the water until it forms a thick batter. We actually had to use a good deal more water to get a batter. Heat a non-stick frying pan over medium heat, and pour ladles of batter and flatten it out until it's evenly spread. Fry over medium heat and flip when golden on one side. Repeat until the batter is used up. Plate the goraasa, scoop servings of the stew on top, wipe plates and serve hot. How did that all go? Well, it was hearty, it was delicious, it was wonderful. Let's start off with that goraasa. I am notoriously bad at making pancakes or anything pancake-like, and I always have problems that it sticks to the bottom and whatever, but amazingly this time it worked out. I understand that goraasa can be any kind of thickness that you need depending on your circumstances, so yay for the latitude, because it was delicious. I actually got it right. It had a wonderful, great flavor from the wheat flour. Using the baking soda, increasing it from the original recipe, did help it get a little bit of bubbling and fermentation, which was nice. And when I saved the batter for leftovers a few nights later, it did have time to ferment, and it really did have a lot of additional flavor to it, which is similar to some of the fermented flatbreads that we did in other countries. So I got to taste it two different ways. So the goraasa, I'm gonna give 4 out of 5 globes. It was nice, basic, and it really went nicely with the dish. As far as the stew itself, that was just really wonderful. It had a nice homey feel. It was filling. I went back for seconds. The potatoes and the tomatoes and the different spices, the cardamom and cinnamon, gave it a really nice feeling. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I felt I needed to season it some more with salt and pepper that wasn't included in the recipe, because that did help bring the flavors out. Also, the recipe basically gave it about less than an hour of actual cooking time, which meant that the meat was actually quite chewy since we used stew beef. Now when we served this for leftovers, I let it sit and simmer for a good deal longer, and then the meat was really nice and tender, so it got even better over time. Point being, the first night it's great, leftovers even better. So I'm gonna give the Dama Potaatas 4 out of 5 globes, a really hearty, homey dish, and I really quite enjoyed it with the goraasa. So that does it for Sudan and this stint in Africa. I think we only have about 8 African countries left, if I'm not mistaken. But next week we're gonna be heading back to South America after the longest time to have the really fascinating food of Suriname. See you then. And remember, if you'd like to be advised when these videos are posted, please be sure to follow us on Periscope. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Like and subscribe if you'd like to be advised when these videos are posted, and be sure to hit that bell to get those notifications. Remember, links to the original recipes can be found in the About section. If you have any thoughtful feelings or helpful suggestions about the food we're eating, please be sure to sound off in the comments. Thanks for watching, and happy eating!